Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Know Your Worth TV. Excited, another nominee because the second annual Spotlight Award is happening in just less than 10 days. So if you guys haven't got your ticket, you make sure you go do that now. ContentCreatorsEXP.com. It is located in Miami. Phenomenal show. A lot of content creators that will be in the building. The perfect time to really come and collaborate with other creators as well, and just be in the room where you can feed off the energy that's in the room. Everybody in there is going to be looking fly. Everyone's going to be on their, the top game possible, just because you don't know who's in the building. But this is another phenomenal nominee, Miss Cheyenne. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm
Cheyenne,
doing well. Mhm.
yes, I'm excited. I know it's been some time. I had to reschedule
Mhm.
this interview because there's so many of you guys, but I'm excited we finally were able to make this happen.
Mhm.
And as I always mentioned, not really so much an interview, just a conversation.
Right.
So are you excited about this?
I am. I'm very excited.
Are you excited about being nominated? How did that make you feel?
That was actually really nice because it's like I always feel like you just do so much that sometimes you kind of bypass your own work. So when someone like stop and makes you kind of like, you know, um, sort of in a way give you your flowers and tell you that they admire what you're doing and you get nominated for something, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like I was selected. So it's kind of like surreal at the same time, because like I said, you do so much content and it takes time for you to really like sit in with it and say like, wow, I'm doing a great job. So when someone else acknowledges it, it really means a lot.
Love it. Yeah, definitely. I can only imagine. Sometimes we just do things out of the love. And when
Mhm.
someone kind of notices, it's like, oh, this is cool. I'm just doing this just because I love it. So
Right,
do you know
exactly.
who nominated you by chance?
I
You
don't even
don't?
know how to like.
Nominate
I don't
someone.
really understand how the nomination process worked, but even it was like to a surprise for me. So when I saw I was nominated, I'm like, "Whoa! Like, where did this come from?" So it's exciting.
Yeah, no worries. So Evelyn and the team at Content Creators Experience, just kind of put it out there, through
Mm-hmm.
flyers, through their own social media for those to, they gave the categories, and if they felt someone fit that category, they just nominated them. So someone within that circle that may know the Content Creators Experience, that may have been part of the show last year.
Mm-hmm.
So dope. That is pretty dope when it's kind of
Yeah, it
a
is.
shock to you and you still don't know who. So it's like, yo, who's out there really watching me?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. And how long have you been doing blogging?
So I've been blogging since 2019. Funny enough, I started off doing cooking videos. And then that was around the time when I graduated college. So my career kind of picked up and I started really getting into like corporate world. I graduated in marketing. So I went straight into the marketing field. And for me, it was just sort of a thing where I realized like I don't have the time to do cooking videos anymore. So because I didn't have the time to do cooking videos, that's when I sort of started doing more like blogging on restaurants and trying to make the content fit the point of my life that I was in as everything sort of evolved.
Okay.
So I started 2019, but we've been evolving. It's been kind of like changing ever since.
Love it. So was a lot of the focus on YouTube since you were doing a lot of the cooking, or was it still Instagram based? What was your content really hitting?
So it was mainly Instagram. I actually started off doing cooking stories, like on my Instagram story. And then my
Mhm.
friends always said, "Oh my gosh, we want to go back to your videos, but it's hard because after 24 hours it deletes." So we kind of were like, oh, "Okay, what should I do?" So then they were like, "Create a separate page, so at least we can go back to the highlights, or even maybe actual create videos and put it on as post."
Mhm.
So I started doing that and kind of getting into doing like not Instagram reels at the time. I think it was like IGTV. So it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
IGTV. We started getting into that, and I was doing those videos. And then when the pandemic hit, I started doing content on TikTok. And my TikTok was picking up pretty well. But then again, I just graduated, so my job was also picking up. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to keep up with this content. I don't know how I'm going to keep doing cooking videos. And then that's when I evolved, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should talk about like what I eat in a day. Like talk about the things that I like to eat. I usually, for a form of entertainment and connecting with my family and friends, I go out to eat. So I was like, why don't I share about my restaurants?
Love it. So have you always been a foodie?
I have always been a foodie.
Yes, that's what's
Hmm.
up. So you just, it really evolved from, hey, I love cooking, to now let me go and highlight other people's restaurants per se. And how long
Exactly.
did it take you to, once you made that shift, for that to really be start picking up?
It's honestly, I really like, so for TikTok, it took off faster than Instagram, which is kind of weird because I started on Instagram first, but
Mhm.
I would meet so many people and they would always be like, oh my God, I know your page from TikTok. So my TikTok started picking up, and I want to say, I want maybe like 2021 is where I really started seeing a pickup from my TikTok. And then by 2022, I think it was where I hit like 10K. And a lot of that changed also because then you started growing an attraction. So now you get brands reaching out, you get more restaurants that are like local and they're like, listen, I have a hidden gem. Can you come to my restaurant? So I want to say the 2022 was really where I started seeing more traction, more invitations to things and stuff like that. But it wasn't until April of 2023 where I really picked up on Instagram. So it was sort of like stepping stones. Like all of the moving parts didn't pick up at the same time, but when they did pick up, it sort of kind of fell into another bucket. So once the TikTok picked up, I slowly started seeing an increase on my Instagram following. I tried to do YouTube at one point. I was doing YouTube a little bit, but I did stop just because YouTube has a lot more editing with the
Mhm.
content and filming. So the process is a little bit differently. And again, with my career, it was so hard to stay consistent and move full time with my food blogging. So that's why I mainly focus on TikTok and Instagram. And I'm still pending on getting back into YouTube. So that's something that's in my mind.
Dope. What was that first
Mhm.
restaurant that hit you up or first establishment that reached out to you and says, "Hey, I think you got something. Can we collab on it?" What was that first one?
It was funny because it's actually called a restaurant called La Ventana. It's on Miami Beach,
Okay.
and they were the first people to ever. And this was actually before I even like hit 10K on TikTok. It was like when I just started off. I would honestly say it was probably before the pandemic too. They invited me, and that was my first time ever being invited to a restaurant and trying different dishes. So it was like an eye opener because I was like, wow, like I don't really have a platform yet. Like I'm now
Right.
starting, I'm learning myself, I'm learning like, what works for me. So for someone to think that I'm worthy enough to reach out, like that's major for me. So
Dope. So was that something like paid gig or is like, "Hey, we'll comp your meal"?
no, that was like, we'll comp your meal. Yeah. It was like,
Have
we'll
you
comp your
gotten
meal.
paid gigs as of now?
Yeah. Yes, I
Yeah.
have. Yes,
Oh, dope.
yes.
And are you still doing the marketing, your full-time job?
Yeah, I am. So I do still work full time. A lot of people always ask me, or like I have like brands that say, like, can we schedule a call for tomorrow at 2? I'm like, I still have a regular job. Like we would have to have a call, after 5 p.m. or, talk via
Mhm.
email. Because it is hard because a lot of people do assume sometimes that you are full time with it. And I'm like, no, I'm still working in the office, just like everyone else still. So
Is that one of your goals though, to go full-time?
yes, it is one of my goals. I do want to go full time with blogging, and I also too want to expand on my AEEX brand. And with that brand, it's basically curating food and alcohol experiences that bring people together. So it's called Alcohol Artistry Experience.
Mhm.
And basically, I work with different liquor companies, bars, restaurants to really showcase the artistry in alcohol. So, like the mixology portion of it, even sort of like color changing. There's so many different types of liquor and things that people enjoy because a lot of times we connect through food and drinks and things like that, and that's what made me start this. So me loving hosting and like having different events and stuff like that, that's always been a passion of mine. So I'm sort of like, I want to make my experiences come to life in a sense. So that's where AAEX comes from. It's sort of wanting to bring that alcohol artistry with the component of food and showcasing these liquor companies, these bars, these restaurants, and all the different things that they have that are different from your typical experiences where you would just go and possibly get like a traditional mojito or a margarita. It's like we're really diving in deep into different ways that we can utilize alcohol and spirits and just make it come to life.
Dope. And how did that come about? What made you wanna go into that direction?
So I actually really love any type of food experience. If it's like South Beach Food and Wine Festival, if it's sort of like a one brunch, like one of those brunches that come like one time a year, or a picnic, like I really love things like that, because I feel like people wait for those type of experiences, especially when you love to eat and you love cocktails and spirits. It's like you want fun with it, you know? So a lot of times when we go to restaurants, we go to eat because we want an outing and we want to enjoy something really delicious. So for me, it's like I know that, okay, I truly love these South Beach Food and Wine Festivals. There's so many people in this world that also love that as well. So
Yeah.
for me, I wanted to expand on that and create more environments where we can have more experiences, which are a little bit unique. So when you know that it comes around a certain time of year, it's a different experience than just going to a restaurant, or, you know, it's one of those festivals and one of those things similar to like Essence Fest. You always know when Essence Fest is coming, and it's like everyone's excited, they're getting their hotel, and it's like that is my dream. I want to curate more experiences that surround food and spirits, and like just overall bringing people together and connect.
Yeah. Listen, everyone loves food and drinks, right? That's
Right, right, exactly. You can't
that's
go
definitely a
wrong with it.
perfect niche.
Hmm.
That's so cool. Do you think that the marketing background really helps you within the blogging and the way that you've been able to manifest this um, business? Do you think that marketing has been helping you? That background?
Yeah, yes. I think that it's definitely keeps my creative juices going, especially too because in the marketing industry that I'm in, it is a lot about developing content. So I work with email, web, fax, different things like that. And when you're in a profession like that, you always have to think from the consumer's point of view. So it's kind of like, what would make someone click on this? What would make someone want to learn more about this product? So for me, it goes hand in hand, because I always think when I'm writing my content or my scripts for my video, because I do write my scripts, I'm like really old school. So I like to write my scripts out. I go back through the menu, I write down key notes, I think back about what did I taste, the presentation, the way that it looked. And with that, I pretty much use that as my leverage to connect with my audience. So it's kind of, they're all like, it's like full circle for me, because I do that professionally with my 9 to 5 job. And then using those same skills to sort of draw in my audience for the social media aspect. It's sort of thinking, it's like, okay, but what did it smell like? What did it taste like? You know what I mean? What's going to make someone want to click on this, or even look at that restaurant to say, oh, you know what? I want to check that out, or I want to share it to the next person. So I do use a lot of those same tactics. And I will say that my style of vlogging is very storytelling. I love to paint a picture in a moment and make it an experience.
Dope. So you out there
Mhm.
with your notebook and your pen, and not only are you eating, but you got to make sure you got everything key points
Yeah,
down.
exactly. And then sometimes when I forget my notebook, I'm like texting myself or texting my iPad, and I'm like telling myself, I'm like, so fresh. This had a
Wow.
citrus to it, just so I can remember and I can talk about it later on. Because eventually, sometimes you get to the point where you're starting to do so many videos.
Hmm.
You may have videos back to back, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then with that, you don't want to start to forget what made one thing unique from the other. You don't want the videos to sound the same. So it's like trying to take notes within the time period when it's actually happening, but then also still living in the moment and enjoying and connecting with whoever is your plus one. Or if you're talking to like an owner or a manager, you want to make sure that you are like being present and introducing yourself. So it's kind of like you're like working on the back end and the same time like doing front end work at the same time.
So you working two full-time jobs pretty much.
Yeah, I do. But I love
That's
it
a
and I'm
lot.
so grateful.
That
Yeah, I
is. That is.
know. But it's like it's also a blessing, because I always tell myself, I'm like, a lot of people aren't able to live their dream and do the things that they're really passionate about. So to be able to share my love of food and spirits and connecting with people and getting dressed up, because I love fashion also. So being able to get dressed up and go to dinner or go to brunch, it's like such a beautiful experience. And then to do it with my friends and my family, it's like so exciting to have them with me.
How often do you get invited out to a restaurant?
I would probably say maybe 5 to 6 times a week.
No way.
Yes, I do. It is a lot of work though, because you also have the health aspect of it. So you have to be mindful of like your weight and what you're consuming, making sure you're drinking enough water. So a lot of times I'm on a very strict diet when I'm not recording. So if it's like a down day and I don't have a review to do, it's like a granola bar, maybe a smoothie, a salad, water. It's like really clean eating, and I have to be strict with myself. So when my mom makes some delicious food or my grandma makes pilau or something like that, I can't really indulge because I'm like, oh, I got to do a review on Wednesday. So it's like you kind of got to step back and, you don't get to eat the same way
Yeah.
normally as other people because you have to have, moderation.
Wow. 5, 6 times a week. You've gotten to that point, huh? Where people are really reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And are these mostly now, are you still at the point where you do complimentary meals, or are they all pretty much now just paid gigs?
So I do get a mix. I do pick and choose. Sometimes I will like look into a restaurant or they'll give me a pitch and they'll tell me like, oh, we're just starting off. We're looking to do this. And, so depending on my schedule and the amount of things that I have going on, if it's something that's like, I've never done it before, I'm so excited, and it's truly an experience, then I may take something that's unpaid. Because also too, I do want to be able to like invite my mom for everyone to get a different experience because usually you get a plus one. So if it's something
Mhm.
like a restaurant that I know my mom has been dying to go to and it may be unpaid, I may like, take the deal and go and do the experience. But I'm really, really big on experience. So like if it's a good time and, the way that they reached out was very genuine and, I will take it. But I am also very, direct as far as like when I send my email, my media kit, because I also want to make sure that I'm showing a level of professionalism. So there's times where I still pitch myself to restaurants and I say, I love that you have this unlimited lychee martini. I think that this is such an amazing deal and so many women would love it. I would love to feature, we can collaborate. So there's times where I do reach out if it's something that I feel like really stands out and it has its own lane, then I do want to be a part of that and showcasing that because I know there's a lot of women that are young, or even people that are working with a certain amount of disposable income that want to dine out. They want to have a good time, but they also want to do it on a budget, or they want things that are not your typical and ordinary experience.
Love it. That was actually my next question. Are you still pitching? But you just answered it. Yeah, you're still
Yeah,
pitching
I
out
am.
here. How many
Mhm.
no's would you say you're doing on a weekly basis? How many times do you have to say no to somebody?
Um, that's a little, that one's a little bit more difficult. I probably say no than more than I say yes. I would probably be booked up a lot more, but because I try to be very intentional about the things that I post and
Mhm.
seeing like making sure that there's variety in my content, I do say no a fair amount of times. I don't say yes to everything, but I do take my time and my research before I like accept or deny something. So I do have a conversation. I'll ask them. I'll kind of look through the menu, see what the different options are. Because again, you do want to make sure that everything that you're posting and all the content is unique and all of the menus are different. You don't want to do too many of the same things. So if I know that I've done a couple of restaurants that are similar or the menu items are, within the same range, I
Mhm.
may deny it or I may say, oh, we're going to collaborate at a later time. But a lot of times too, I do have to say no because I am so booked up and I work full time that I never want to oversell myself and make a promise that I can't keep. So sometimes it is a time where I have to say no because I've already taken maybe one or two deals that are similar to like to that type of restaurant, or I'm like fully committed and I can't push myself anymore. So it just depends. There's so many different variables that will determine if I say yes or no.
When you say you're booked, are you booked like already from now? You're booked weeks out already?
Yeah, yes. Probably
Yeah.
I would say yeah, for sure. I would probably say I'm booked for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So once the first week folds up, then I pretty much go to the next week. So once I'm in a conversation with a restaurant, whether it's email or sometimes it's DM, I would tell them like, "Oh, are you available Tuesday, June 18th?" Or, I have to go into the
Yeah.
next week because I've already made promises for the current week. So it is a lot of scheduling and it's hard because it's like I'm my own accountant, I'm my own assistant. So when it comes to scheduling, sending invoices, collecting the money, keeping up with my books to show how much I've made throughout the year for tax season, I have to do all of that by myself. So it takes so much more than just the editing and just the writing a script and just the filming. So there's like a whole back end of it that you really have to like monitor and keep up with, even emails, like keeping up with the email thread because you may be in a conversation with 3 restaurants at the same time and you want to make sure, am I responding fast enough, am I giving them all of the information that they need to make their decision to see if, okay, I would want to move forward. So
That's what's up, Goldilocks. Goldilocks, here we are with Miss Cheyenne. She's telling about her food blogging journey. I love it. I love to know that you're booked so far out. Has there been a place that you went to that you would just didn't expect, like either the food or the experience?
I don't know. It's so hard because I feel like there's so many different things that I love in each restaurant that I do. But I would have to say that one of my all-time like favorite restaurants, I got to be careful what I say because it's a little broad of a statement. Um, this one, the restaurant I'm about to name, it's more of I have a very close connection with them. Before I started blogging,
Mhm.
they pretty much was the first restaurant to really give me like an experience. And again, this is way before I started blogging. So I actually, there's a restaurant called Santorini's. It's in Miami, and it's a Greek restaurant. And I met the owner maybe a couple of years while I was still in college. I met the owner who was so nice. And my family and I, we went for dinner, and they really like they brought out a charcuterie board full of like seafood, and everything was so delicious, and they were like breaking plates, there was live music. That was my first time where it was like a show bringing out the food. They had sparklers, like it was such a good time. And after that I was like, oh my gosh, like if I dine out and I really want to splurge and have a good time, I want this sort of experience. You know how
Yeah.
sometimes you spend a lot of money on food and it's like, okay, food's done, but it's like nice when you're like sipping your cocktail. They have like a pool in their back patio. So it's like you're sitting, you have the ambiance there. It was just a perfect moment. So that would probably be one of like my
So it
favorite
set the
places.
expectations a long time ago, pretty much.
Yeah. So for them, after that, I was like, oh my gosh, like if I'm going to really go all out and have a good time and a great meal, I would definitely go
That is so cool. You're
there.
probably the
Hmm.
only person I know. I actually knew someone that would like go eat at all these places and take pictures, but would never do it in a business aspect. But I used to tell her like,
Mm,
people get paid for this, but I've never
yeah.
met someone. But I know that people do, right? So to know that you're doing it at the level that you're doing it, I'm like, people are asleep. I even have another friend that he goes out to these restaurants all the time. He'll do dope videos,
Hmm.
but for you to actually be living it, I'm hoping that people are inspired when you go out and eat and you're spending $100 on these plates. Like, remember the
Hmm.
content piece of it, right? It could
Right.
actually
Exactly.
take you other places. So, when it comes to content, are you producing content on a daily basis, or is it just every time that you're going out to eat? How is the content being produced?
So yes, I do pretty much shoot almost every day. I post almost every day. There may be a day or two that I might skip a week. But I do post almost every day. The thing is to really achieve in this type of industry, you have to post frequently. Now, I always tell people like when they're starting off, it is hard. It's hard. I would never say that this isn't probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done because I have not really gotten comped meals or deals up until, and I mean like regularly up until April of 2023.
Right.
Like even when my TikTok was taking off, I was still paying for meals at times. It would be like maybe possibly once, twice, and like 3 times a month maybe that I would be invited somewhere, but 9 times out of 10 I would pay for each of those meals, which is very hard when you're starting out because if you're someone like me where you at that time period you recently graduated college, you're working on a very fixed income, you have a passion for something but it's not something that's cheap, you know what I mean, to spend that
Mhm.
money every day, and then you need variety in the menu, so you have to show the drinks, you have to show the this, so it is a little hard. And I will say that, you know, I love it, but it like once you kind of plant those seeds, you'll see the fruit of your labor later on. And that's the hardest part is just keep going, even when you feel like you haven't made any impact, or even when you feel like this is not going anywhere. Like, I don't know why I'm posting this every day. And that's the only way to get it is if you stay consistent and you truly like test it out. I always say the beginning is easiest to test out because see what works best. Maybe you might show different food and storytell. Maybe you may, give your raw review on everything that you're eating and what you like and what you don't like. Everyone's niche is different and everyone's type of content is different. So you don't know what will work for you. You got to just stay consistent. I hated that in the beginning. When someone told me to stay consistent, it's like, yeah, I know, but it's the truth.
So, was this a goal of yours to do food blogging? Or like, because I know you say stay consistent, right? You've done it for so
Mhm,
long, and
mhm.
then you were even out there willing to pay for some meals. When you were paying for these meals and you were going for that experience or going to these different places, in your mind, were you already thinking like, hey, this is where I want to build up to? Or at that moment, were you just doing it still for the fun of it?
Um, so I don't think that I truly had a goal at first. I think I was just doing it as just like a hobby. But I've always been passionate about food. And I would see other influencers and bloggers doing their thing. But a lot of the influencers that I followed were fashion. They were in fashion or they were in makeup and beauty and things like that, like skincare. So I didn't know many food influencers at first that just solely like focused on food. So for me, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I really love the aspect of like giving your insight or your expertise on something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So I started doing a little bit more research and then I started noticing more food influencers, like a rise of food influencers. So I'm like, wow, people are really like taking food and doing the same thing that these beauty and these fashion influencers are doing, but they're doing in the aspect of letting you know where to get good food, you know, what to order. And I think that that's so dope. Like everyone wants good recommendations. So from that, I feel like as I started learning more about the industry, that's what made me expand a little bit more on the dreams part of it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it was necessarily a dream just coming out of the door, but I would definitely say that after a while, just noticing like so much unique, different type of content, I'm like, wow, this is actually like a cool, like imagine this being a career. And I think that's what
Mhm.
expanded me out to thinking, well, why don't you think bigger? Why don't you go bigger?
Copy. And no one really pushed you to it. It was just something that you just, I mean, I know you said your friends earlier pushed you to do more videos on your food, but when it came to making this a career,
Mhm.
of blogging food and reviewing food, is this something that you just wanted to do on your own, or someone kind of pushing you into this direction?
So I would say my mom is my biggest cheerleader. Everything I do, she's like, Cheyenne, you got this, you can do this. You know, she goes really hard for me. But I've always been a lover of Food Network also. So and I loved like watching like Aisha Curry's like videos and how she would like make her dishes. So I always thought that was so cool. But I am very shy, believe it or not. So I don't like to like record myself. Like even when I did my cooking videos, I would always just like record my hands and for me, I feel like once I sort of like put my foot out there and like got my feet wet, then, you know, everyone else saw something in me that I didn't really see at first in myself,
Hmm.
you know? So my mom and my friends, they became, they're like, Cheyenne, like, no, you gotta keep going. Like, you're doing so good these videos. Like, how did you make that mac and cheese? So I feel like it was like people saw me being passionate about something, but they also knew that my fears kind of like kept me in a corner. And because they knew that my fears kept me in a corner, they became really like louder cheerleaders, where it was just kind of like, oh my, like they would be the first people to comment, the first people to share. And I feel like that's what kind of grew my confidence a little bit more. And I became like, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Like maybe let me try, let me go a little bit harder. So I feel like it's a little bit of both. I had a passion, but I needed my support system.
Love it. Pigeon Patrol says, "Don't let your dreams be dreams." Totally, 100% agree. Um,
Yeah.
are you the only child?
I'm not actually. I have a little sister. She actually just left. She helped me film one of my brand deals that I just recently got. So she's like one of my super, super, super number one supporters as well. She's helped me from the beginning with filming. And it's funny because I actually learned a lot of my video editing from my little sister.
Wow. Are you the oldest?
Hmm. I am. It's just her and I.
Oh, just the two of you.
It's
Dope.
just
What is the difference in age?
5 years. So yeah, 5 years. But she's finally 25, I mean 21 now. So now we can really enjoy
Hang
each
out.
other.
Yeah, yeah, you can really.
We
I'm
can
about to
really
say
enjoy.
that's still a pretty decent gap. That there's
Hmm.
probably like, I don't want to hang out with you right now, but now at that age, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah, you guys are
Right. When
connecting.
you're 15 and when you're 15 and they're 10, it's like "Ugh, she's my little sister. But
Yeah,
now it's
yeah.
like she's like my best friend. Like I call her for everything. I'm like, I need your help. No, so
And what does your mom think about this now that you're? I'm guessing you've
mhm,
always been into food. It seems.
mhm,
So, what is your mom saying now that she sees you at this level where you are able to get brand deals and you are able to go eat free? I'm pretty sure sometimes take her along. What is that?
exactly.
What is she saying to you nowadays?
Oh, she loves it. She's so proud. She always reminds me. She sends me all the motivational Instagram videos, and she's like, like when they talk about being someone's number one fan, she
Mhm.
always tells me how proud she is of me. And when she's watching me in action, it's like there's no slowing down for her. She's like, okay, what's next? What do we have to do? She's like so into it and so excited. Even my dad's like that as well. My dad is so supportive. He comes to everything with me, and he's like taking videos and pictures. And even when I'm recording on my phone, he's recording me on his phone because he loves the behind the scenes. He loves sharing it with my grandma and all my family and showing me in my element in my moment. So it's really proud to just see not only
Mhm.
being able to bring them along with me, but to know that it's like you guys pushed me. Like I wouldn't have become and gone this far if I didn't have you guys support. So to be able to have it from the beginning and it still be just as much, it means the world. So
Love it. And other than the business side that you created with the alcohol and the that experience, what does 5 years look like? What is that long-term goal that you have?
so 5 years, I feel like I do want to keep influencing. I feel like I will do it maybe in a more professional capacity, you know what I mean? Like a little bit, better technology and all of that different stuff. But it's funny because I do want to push my experiences more, of curating those experiences more. Like that is my ultimate goal. I do love sharing, the places that I've been to and good food and good cocktails and things like that. But I really do want to expand on curating more food and alcohol experiences. That is my complete passion. I love being able to see people dressed up, coming together to have a good time. So I feel like within the next 5 years, I really want to see a huge difference in where I started now and what it's going to be, but just kind of leading more towards those bigger events, those bigger things, and working with bigger brands. So that way, I'm able to kind of like do what I love, and make not only the experiences that I'm sharing on social media, but make it come to life where you can come and have an experience like that. You know what I mean? With your friends and your family, and you can dine and drink the same cocktails that I'm posting about. So that's the goal.
That's dope. That is that's like, have you traveled places and reached out and says, "Hey, I'm going to be in your location. I would love to
Mhm.
collaborate," or is it strictly just Miami based right now?
So I do travel a lot. I've reached out to a couple of different places and I've introduced myself. So I've worked with other restaurants that were outside of Miami, but my audience is like pretty much South Florida. So a lot of times it's like my South Florida content does really, really well because people want to go, right away as soon as they see the video. So I have worked out like abroad, but sometimes when I travel, I'm not gonna lie, I just really want to live in the moment. So I'm like at a torn between, do I want to work or do I really just want to live in the moment and have a good time? So I'm at a crossroads, but there has been moments where I have worked and traveled, but a lot of times my travel is leisure.
That's cool, man. To know
Mhm.
this is just bigger than your backyard. It is something that is, if you really wanted to, you could take it to that level of, hey,
Right.
I'm going to start traveling, some
Mhm.
Food Network type stuff. When they go review
Mhm.
all these different restaurants. Ideally, you
Mhm.
can't do it if you really wanted to, just because you're at
Mhm.
that level where you have an audience now.
Mhm.
You have a community that wants to hear what you got to say. They want to hear your
Yeah.
review to kind of partake into that. So that's amazing. Did you feel what are some of the struggles that you would say you encountered becoming this social media influencer and blog? And what are some of the things that you've had to experience?
Imposter syndrome will be number one. Like I said, I just say to myself a lot. So in the beginning, one of the hardest things even to this day, I struggle 100% with is being my worst critic. I will do a voiceover 100 times because I feel like, but I don't feel it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a feeling of like, you're not selling this. So I feel like that would be one of the hardest things that I had to like overcome, and then also putting myself out there. Like I'm so terrified. I like to stay in my little bubble. I like to record and post it and then just kind of run away. But as you start growing, people want to learn a little bit more about you. You're invited to events and you do want to attend. It's not that you don't want to come, you do want to
Yeah.
come, but then it's just that fear of like, oh, like then I have to be out there and like I have to put myself out there, you know? So I would say imposter syndrome and just feeling like, well, you know, like not always good enough or not feeling like, oh, well, will I be able to maintain this? Will I be able to keep up with what I'm doing? So that's definitely one of the biggest things that I have to deal with. And then again, you also have like the financial hardships. If you are someone that is, you know, you recently graduated when you started doing this and you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to manage life beyond a dorm room and student apartment. So that was hard for me too, because I wanted to make sure I can keep it going, but at the same time, trying to be mindful of realistically what can I afford. I don't want to necessarily put myself in thousands of dollars of debt to be able to post content every day. So it's a battle between a lot of different things.
Appreciate you being honest with that. Is there any time within this last couple of years that you felt you wanted to just walk away from it?
Yes. I probably walked away maybe 10 times already. Silently. I
what
silently walked away.
what brings you back? Just the passion of food? Is that what it is? Or do you feel people are starting to reach out to you? So you're like, okay, I got to come back and do a review. What brings
Mhm.
you back on the times that you actually do walk away?
I think what brings me back is just knowing that it's like, but you're so good at it sometimes. You know what I mean? And I just recently got to the point of feeling like, oh, but you're really good. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I had imposter syndrome for so long that it's kind of like when I would take those breaks or I would run away from it, I would look back at my videos and I'd be like, oh, you're doing good though. Like you kind of get this cross of like, I'm proud of myself, but I'm not where I want to be, you know? And I think also what brings me back is when you do have those restaurants that do reach out to you, especially it's funny because you'll have, and God works in mysterious ways, and you know, he will, it's like tell God your plans and you'll make him laugh because he knows what he has for you. So it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes I'll get a deal or someone will reach out and I'm like, you think that I'm worthy enough to do your content? You know what I mean? So that also plays a factor in it. When you look back at your content, you're like, but I think you know, you are kind of good. You are doing pretty well. So it makes you want to go back because it's like, oh, but what if I give up and I was just right there? Like I was right where I wanted to be. But I
Yeah.
think too, what happens sometimes is you will get where you want to be and then you'll talk yourself out of it and tell yourself, oh, but that's not where, like, that's not good enough yet. So it's always this chasing this sort of high of greatness and learning how to really sit and acknowledge how well you're doing, without, you know, pretty much downplaying your own success in a sense.
No, definitely is true. I think a lot of people get where they need to be, but
Hmm.
you start to doubt yourself. And
Hmm.
sometimes because you do it for so long that it's like, when is that moment? And
Hmm.
you feel it doesn't happen, you just, do walk away. And that's
Hmm.
funny because I've experienced that even here with this platform. How many I've actually been doing interviews for years, but it's not consistent. And then sometimes you start
Okay.
to beat yourself up. It actually was to the point where probably has happened to you. Let me know if it has. But I would
Hmm.
record videos. I would work with someone. I
Hmm.
would do videos. I'll post it and never watch it. Never watch it. And I was
Mm.
doing that for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's just because I hated my voice, or I would critique the hell out of, things that I
Hmm.
would do as well. Now, since I do a lot of my own editing, I would have to watch 45 minutes. But now that I am watching, I'm like, wow, you're good.
It's not
You
as
do
bad
have
as you
something there.
think. Hmm.
But a
Hmm.
lot of times, yeah, we definitely are the reason that we're probably not where we should be. It's because we start to doubt. And it's normal. Every
Hmm.
person goes through. I don't care what level of success you are. You
Hmm.
go through those moments just because we're not perfect. So I'm happy
No.
that you did mention that to someone that is watching that may be at that point. It's like, do I keep going? Do I stop? Keep going.
Hmm.
You know what I
Keep
mean?
going every
Yeah, keep
time.
going.
Yep. And that's the thing too. It's like hard because, like I said, it's like you will beat yourself up in the moment. There's so many times where I film stuff and I'm like, I didn't get good footage. And I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up and I'll watch and I'm like, oh, actually, this wasn't that bad. This wasn't that terrible. But I think it's like you are your worst critic. So it's kind of like you don't see how well you're doing until sometimes it takes you taking a
Mhm.
break or until someone else watches and they're like, you're a genius. Like, this is genius. You know what I mean? So it's so many different moving parts. But I feel like also for me, I'm just trying to push past even what I feel sometimes. because sometimes you won't feel your best. Sometimes you'll feel like, I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the way this sounds. But it's like, okay, push past the way you feel. Let's look at, the bigger picture of this. You want to be able to help this business, or these people reached out to you because they believe in you. So they already thought that you were worthy. You don't have to undo that or pull yourself apart to kind of justify why you aren't worthy. You know what I mean? So I feel like
Yeah,
that's sometimes where I have to teach myself to just push past what you feel and just remember that it's like, you were selected to do this because God thought that you were qualified. God knows that you're qualified. And sometimes I feel like, our mind can definitely play tricks on us and make us feel things that's
100%.
not necessarily there.
And then things happen like this where someone nominates you, right?
Hmm.
It could have been at a point where you're like, am I real? Should I really be doing this? And then next thing you know, you're nominated. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
people are watching. Oh, this makes me feel really good.
Hmm.
Not that we need it. We don't need an award to validate
Yeah.
our success or how good we
Hmm.
are, but it does feel good when it happens out of nowhere, something that we're not chasing. It just happens.
Hmm.
So I appreciate the honesty and being transparent, because so many people just think that it happens, and then you don't go through these mental blocks, or you don't go through these mental stages where it's like just give up,
Hmm.
and you have to kind of overcome those points. What are some of the
Hmm.
challenges that you would say you've experienced on this journey of becoming a food blogger and experience blogger?
Some of the challenges that I face, I would definitely say weight gain was definitely one of them. I think it's hard because I also was at a point in my life where you're transitioning from sort of being the young person that can eat anything and do anything you want, not exercise, not count calories. Like that was never a thing for me. So I would, pretty much live my life the way that I wanted. But then once you start becoming a food influencer or a food blogger, it becomes difficult because sometimes you're shooting content or you're recording when you're not hungry. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like, but you do want to taste it because you want to give honest feedback. So you have to be mindful of like mind over matter. Sometimes there'll be times where I'm so hungry. I would be at work and I will eat a granola bar and water for my lunch, you know what I mean, within an 8-hour shift because I know, okay, well, you have to shoot content at 7 p.m. So if you know you have to shoot content at 7 p.m., you don't want to eat a full lunch like everyone else. And then you're going to eat a platter of different items that this restaurant wants you to try. So that was one of my hardest challenges, was just mind over matter, being mindful of my weight, the way that I'm eating. Because even too, sometimes it's not even just physical appearance, but internally. Are you
Hmm.
drinking enough water? With you having so many different dishes, some of it's fried, some of it's grilled. You want to be mindful that when you're not doing a food review, that you're eating pretty healthy. So you're being mindful of like salt levels and your sugar and different things like that. So that's
Hmm.
probably hardest, is to also being making sure that you are physically fit, but also internally your body and everything is in a good state as well.
Okay, okay. I got two more questions for you. I know
Hmm.
time is very precious right now.
Hmm.
The first question that I will go with is, we're going to speak into existence. So, is there a place that you have in mind that you haven't been able to collab with yet at a level where it's compensation? Is there somewhere on your list, that number one restaurant or number one location?
I don't know. I don't think it's a place. I don't think it's a place or a restaurant. I think it's a person for me. I would so love to work with Tabitha Brown. I love I love Tabitha. So I think even her line, like if I was able to, or when, I should say
Yes,
when
yes, yes.
I work
Speaking
with
into
her,
existence.
exactly. When I work with Tabitha Brown, her line, her products, I think she's such a beautiful person. I love her videos, and her love for food is just as much as mine. I watch all of her vegan videos, even though I'm not vegan. So I would love to work with her. That's definitely my person, my product, my company that I do want to work with.
Just to make sure we're talking about the same person, is that the individual that does tap time on YouTube?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Tabitha
She
Brown.
does this a lot. Of my daughter, I have a 2-year-old, and my daughter is
Okay.
watching Tap Time, so I can see that she's even incorporating that food into a lot of the shows that she talked about, the
Oh,
avocado, the pit, and all that. Like she's
yes,
so
yes.
my listen, and I don't know if you know Toby. You know Toby, rapper
I
Toby.
don't know.
All right. So Toby, Terry Crews, a lot of those people have been a part of her
Mhm.
show, and Toby is a rapper. not really signed to a huge brand. He's been doing it solo for so many years.
That does sound familiar. I think I've probably come across these videos before.
Yeah, he's you'll see he's always wearing the same color. He's always wearing like that mint green. Is him and
Oh,
his
okay.
his wife. They just did Transformers. But anyway, so just to say that he was a social media influencer, and he's
Mm-hmm.
on the show. So you never know that chance is coming for you. You just got to keep
Mm-hmm.
on, staying to the course. Um
Yeah.
so that'd be pretty dope to know that you
Hmm.
said that here. When it happens, I can go back and say, yeah, I remember when you said it on this show.
I'm gonna work with Tabitha Brown. I'm gonna
Yeah, there
work with
you
my
go. There you
girl.
go. Speaking into
Hmm.
existence. All right.
Hmm.
One last thing I do want to go ahead and mention, for time's sake, is
Hmm.
I end every show the same way. But what was that know your worth moment that allowed you to know that I'm going to continue to be a foodie? I'm going to, review food. What was that moment that allowed you to know that this is what you would love to do as a passion, and for a career?
My know my worth moment, I would probably say when I started getting a lot of DMs of like people telling me how much they love my content, how much it's helped them. They've asked me for date night recommendations, things and places to go for Mother's Day, Father's Day, different things like that, even birthdays. And I try my hardest to message back on as many as I can. I can't do all, but I try to message back as much as I can because I'm like, it's an honor to know that you trust my recommendations, and I definitely feel like that was my know my worth moment. Like that was a moment where I was like, wow, like you're moving people, you're bringing people together. This is what you've always dreamed of. And, God is using you in a way that is your passion, but also it's necessary because that's the way that we connect with each other. That's how we keep unity within relationships and families. So I'm so happy to be a tool and be able to give recommendations that help people in that way.
Amazing. And is there anything that you would leave another young lady that is wanting to, it doesn't even have to be a food blogger, but just want to be a social media influencer, wants to
Mhm.
create content? Is there something that you would leave them, a little message, a little tip, that you would
Yeah.
want to leave them with?
The message that I would leave is that you were already good at it. Like you were already prepared. A lot of times you try to doubt yourself or you feel like, oh, I will be better once I hit this number of followers or when I get this equipment. You were already prepared. You were already made to do this. So do not doubt yourself, even at the beginning, before you have the followers, before the brand deals, before the great equipment and the cameras, when you just have you, your phone. Trust me, you are already prepared. You have everything that you need. There's nothing else that you need to become who you're destined to be because you're already that person.
Love it. Cheyenne, when we first started this, she says, I'm shy. And I don't know where you say you're shy. That shy where? Like, come on.
Yeah, I am. I am.
No, thank you so much, guys. This is another nominee that you'll see at the second annual Spotlight Award. Don't forget, we actually have events the 24th, the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. Some of them virtual, some of them in person, where you get to really have one-on-one conversations with a lot of these nominees, really get to know them, and maybe even collab at some level, right? There might be some other food bloggers, there might be some people that are doing makeup or beauty that may want to collab. I don't know. We don't really know until we actually show up. So don't forget to show up to the Content Creators second annual Spotlight Award show that is happening the 28th. So make sure that you guys go get your tickets at contentcreatorsexp.com or go ahead and visit their social media at Content Creators EXP. And then don't forget to also follow, if you're in the Miami area and you want to know some places to go visit, some places to go eat, where to have good experience, make sure that you also follow Cheyenne, the blogger, on her social media so you can see some of the dope content and just kind of go through the timeline, see how it's really evolved and how she got to where she's at today. Is it the same thing on TikTok as well, Cheyenne, the blogger?
It is on every platform.
All right, perfect. So that you heard that,
Mhm.
Instagram, TikTok, go ahead and follow her, show some love, share some of these videos,
Yes, thank you
because
so
the insights really do get us paid. So,
much.
Cheyenne, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, guys. Make sure that you guys watch some other interviews. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next episode.